YouTube world? My name is Nicholas Montez, and you're watching my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic. And welcome back to another YouTube channel, everybody. I'm so excited to have you all back here again. And in today's video, we're going to be doing something a little interesting. Because today is the 4th anniversary, is the 4-year anniversary of the 2019 film, Joker. And if you guys know me, kind of, not really, but this is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, just period. This is my top 40 favorite movies, most definitely, just because of it being something different. I mean, obviously, it really surprised a lot of people because, like, the idea of doing an origin story about the most iconic Batman villain didn't sound too interesting because you get most origins in the Batman, in their superhero film. And was also interesting is from the director of The Hangover, and I haven't watched The Hangover, but I can tell how the comedy is in that film and how that movie is. You compare it to The Hangover and Joker, totally two different movies, so that's kind of the thing we're going to be talking about in this video today. So let's get started talking about Joker. And obviously one of the great things about this movie is the way that it really just does story. Because my experience with this movie, I remember watching this movie when seeing the Murray Franklin scene, and then I think that was like the big scene I saw when my mom and sister were watching this. And I think one of the big things when it comes to most comic book movies are the ones with great story. I would include Joker as the top 6 most unique comic book movies. And here are the 6 most unique comic book movies. The first one is Spider-Man, the original one, because it started it off, and it was the first one that, well, it was the first comic book movie that was great and led to so many other great ones. Then you get the Avengers, which was the film that brought this team together of different characters from different franchises. But then you get Avengers Infinity War, which is unique for bringing the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man all in one film together. And when it gets to the top 3, you get Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for being this unique animated Spider-Man story and telling this story through animation. Then you get Black Panther, where it does all the MCU comic booky stuff, but at the same time, it tells such an interesting and realistic story. And then you get Joker, and it really is nothing like anything you've ever seen. If you're going into this movie expecting Joker with his army of clowns and robbing banks and Batman coming in to stop them, that's not what this movie is at all. It's the origin of Joker. And it's also, I feel that this feels a little bit of an original story, as it tells the story of someone that is dealing with mental illness and also dealing with all these different types of stuff that, you know, he goes to therapists and he takes like 3 different medications. But even then, all the mental illness stuff you see throughout the movie of what's happening, as he's kind of like parts of him feel like a child, where he wants to be loved, he wants to have a father, he wants attention, but he wants the good kind. And especially in the way that he does his imagination, when he's imagining himself on the Murray Franklin show, when I believe he's imagining himself on a date with the Zazie Beetz girl. And then even the stuff with him being bipolar, where he feels like he wants to kill himself and then he feels like he's on top of the world. All that stuff is so explored excellently in the way that this character is. And not only is it a story about a character dealing with mental illness, but it's also a movie about where a guy, throughout the entire film, he's trying to say, my laughter, that's a condition. It's not good. This is not good. I have to take these medications to clear up so I can be better. But part of the reason is that's who I am. nothing's wrong with me. That's who I am. And it creates this story where this whole time he's been trying to prove himself that my life was a tragedy. Instead, it's a comedy. And that's what leads him to become the villain. So it's a villain origin story, and it does that so fluently. And I just love the way that the story was told in this movie. And it feels, I don't know if I would say it feels complete, but it's almost like when the film ends and he's just laughing, and it's like, you wouldn't get it. Like, you wouldn't get. You're not gonna get it. I thought the way the movie ended was great. So the story of this movie is fantastic. And obviously one of the best things about the performance is really all because of Joaquin Phoenix. I'm going to be honest with you, this is one of those movies where I feel like the best part of the movie is, the best types of movies is when the lead actor can lead the film and he can do great. One of the great examples of movies where the leading actor just carries the movie is a film called Hacksaw Ridge. If you don't know, that's the famous Andrew Garfield biopic war film where basically Spider-Man is a soldier, except he doesn't want to carry a gun. And throughout the whole film, I was just thinking, like, Andrew Garfield is great in this. Like, sure, everyone else, they're pretty great in their roles because it's a war film, but everybody that Andrew Garfield interacts with, he's great. And he just carries that film. But with Joker, Joaquin Phoenix is the main standout. Everyone else is pretty good. I mean, you got Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, the guy that played Jefferson Davis from Spider-Verse. But Joaquin Phoenix is the best guy. And even in the way he portrays this guy, from being this absolute guy that feels on top of the world, and then feeling depressed and wants to kill himself, then having these imaginations, and just kind of exploring the story through him, it's almost relatable in a sense, and you also feel bad for him. And he just portrays this character so freaking well. And it's like, the fact that you kind of feel bad for a villain, and you want him to do the bad things, and it's so messed up. But it's a good messed up, and it's like, that's the kind of feeling you want with these movies. And I'm even thinking, like, how are they going to do this in Joker 2? Like, what's it going to be like? And then, even like when he's on the Murray Franklin show and you just see his acting chops just pour out, it's great. Well, one of the underrated sequences of the movie that I thought was great was when he gets his mom's file. If you were on my Instagram just now, you saw me post saying that scene where Joker checks his mom's file. The scene and it even explains this earlier on in the movie when he talks to Thomas Wayne in the bathroom, when he's like, your mother was crazy when she was working for us, and she raised you when she was in a mental hospital. And then, as he's reading the file, you see the flashback when his mom was in the mental hospital, and you see him outside the door, and even the way the music swells, like, you feel this tint of sadness. And then, even as he's laughing, you can tell that he's sad, and you can even tell, like, you feel bad for him in a sort of sense, like, my whole life was a lie, I've never been happy, and my whole life has been one, like, my life has been a comedy this whole time. And it's such an emotional story, but at the same time, it's like, like, you want him to do this bad stuff, and it makes sense. And even even in this scene, once he kills his mom, and then he starts practicing for what he's going to say on the Murray Franklin show, you start to realize he is Joker now. He's not Arthur Fleck. He's not some clown at ha-has. He's Joker. In the makeup, and then he kills his friend from ha-has, and then he puts on the makeup, and he has that epic dance down the stairs. Greatness. And you just see him as a different person. When you see him as Arthur Fleck, you see him as this kind of like insane guy, but when you see him as Joker, it's like you recognize him. You recognize this guy, like, Joaquin Phoenix in normal clothes, you don't care about that guy. But when you see him in the Joker makeup and the Joker costume, you recognize him. And it's like, it's crazy in the way, because that's how the story was. Because his story started out as killing, and that led him to become the Joker, and then we recognize him as the Joker. Like, they do that so greatly, and that's part of what makes the story so great. That's part of what makes it great. So I loved the way they did his character, and I loved the story, and I loved a lot of that stuff. Another great thing about this movie, which we'll end on, is the shots and the soundtrack. The cinematography and the color grading in this movie is phenomenal. I mean, in the way that Gotham looks, like my sister, I was just talking about her with this an hour ago, that because she finally watched the Batman film last night, and she was talking about it that every time we see Gotham in a Batman film, it feels like New York. Obviously, this isn't a Batman film, but it's still a Batman character, so it is Gotham. And this movie just feels like New York, but it has a unique look to it. Where obviously it doesn't have the Statue of Liberty, doesn't have anything of that, but it feels like New York. With the taxi cabs and the trash on the street and all this stuff, it feels like New York. But even in the color grading, in the bathrooms, in rooms, on the streets, whether it's in nighttime and it feels like this 1970s film, it feels a little bit older, and then you get like shots of him walking down the stairs and it's like the sun going down, or even in the way the music swells as well. The soundtrack is also great for this film, as I don't know, what would you say? The shots and the soundtrack for this movie, like That's Life, another great Frank Sinatra song, probably the song of this movie. And it also plays throughout the Murray Franklin show, and the show, the shots, the soundtrack, the performances, and the story, it just comes together as just one of the most unique films ever made, and I love it. And I would probably say this is my favorite DC film, better than the Batman, better than Blue Beetle, all those. Happy 4 years anniversary, and always remember, that's life. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All my social media stuff is in the about section over there. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.